I took 72 pips on this 1 hour and 20-minute trade a couple of days ago. You know that for the last 6 months or so that the Aussie CAD has been one of my favorite pairs to trade. This trade was a total success, and I'm going to break down the specific steps I took and the tools and strategies I used for you. And whether you are a seasoned Forex trader or just starting out, I think you will find something valuable in the breakdown of this trade. So let's get started. First, I know that there are 2 more trades on this screen up here that I took this week, and I'm about to film those for our Discord membership. So for now, just discard those. I am specifically going to be breaking down this trade right here. We see with this trade entry checklist that this was a high probability trade. We have everything checked: our higher time frame trend bias, our trading range, our trading time frame zone retest. All of that was for buys. We have our entry signal, our refined zone, and our retest of the refined zone for buys. And we have confluences for structure break, imbalance. Our price point was right on point and volume was on, and we actually have manipulation. It just wasn't manipulation off the zone we were trading off of. So I don't usually check that, but this was a high probability trade. So in looking at the breakdown of this trade, we do see, I'm just going to take this over here. We do see that we have been in buys since mid-December, that this zone that I took my trade off of was a demand zone that absolutely was formed off of a break of structure on the 1 hour time frame. I was trading off the 1 hour and my entry was on the 5 minute for this trade. We actually had the base of the zone originally formed here on this candle here. But when the retest came, the very first retest, this became our base. I just kind of wrapped that zone around the original base, but this is actually where the zone originated from. And now that we see that price on this past Tuesday came down for a retest of our previously established zone. It had already been retested once and came back again. Now, what we also see is that when price pushed down to come back to the zone, we do see that there was large institutional candles. An imbalance was formed, and while we don't specifically trade imbalances, we absolutely do use them as confluences. And so there was a high probability of, since we were already looking at buys, price pushing back up and filling that imbalance that was left as price came down to execute additional orders at this previously established demand zone. We also see that as price pushed down to return to the demand zone, we did have trendline liquidity that was taken. Now, usually when I'm trading off a zone, I like to see manipulation off of the zone I'm trading off of. But in this case, what I see is that this would have been, or right here, one of these zones, sell zones, would have been the zones that I would have counted this manipulation for price to return back to one of these zones here. And so instead of it being manipulation off the zone of our entry, it was manipulation where I see that price was taking liquidity as it was traveling to our zone, giving a higher probability of price returning to that zone. So we had not only the manipulation here to look for price to push up to the upside, but also one of these supply zones here that I was looking at a high probability that price would return to, at a minimum, if not trade through those zones, but return back to one of those zones since they had manipulation off of that zone. So I was able to consider that. Like I said, it wasn't marked on my entry checklist because the manipulation wasn't happening off of our trading zone, but it did happen as price was traveling to our zone. Now, of course, this did happen during my trading time frame and some of my high volume time. This was at 6 o'clock my time, which is Eastern Standard Time. When I sat down to the charts, we had already had that price retested in our zone multiple times. Now within our zone, I always look for price points when price comes back to retest on the lower time frame. So you know, as soon as price hits this zone, I am dropping down to the 5 minute. And let's just cruise back over here. And now on the 5 minute, what do we see? We see on the 5 minute, which happened before I sat down at the chart, price came and tested here at 4 a.m. Price left the zone, actually broke structure to leave the zone and came back for a retest. Now price did press into the zone and formed a new low. Not a strong low, but it did form a new low. Now price did come back and break this internal structure to the upside right here. And then we see price comes back and forms a new higher low. So when I'm looking at this 5 minute and we see price pulling back into this zone, pushing up, breaking structure, and then pulling back and forming a new higher low. Now, before I draw the refined zone and I'm starting to look at this 1 hour zone that was drawn here, I'm looking at the price points in here. Now, this one was actually on a quarter point and it was at the 91,250, and that was the price point that I was looking at least for price to return and retest to, and it absolutely did, pushed right below that. Came again, then formed a new higher low, and price started leaving the zone. Now at this point, I'm watching price push up with momentum, looking for it to continue to break this structure here. And as this 7:15 candle closed, I entered the trade. We then see price pushing to the upside to break structure here. We do see it fill the entire imbalance. Now, I had set the trade to exit this particular trade. I had set this trade to exit at this previous break of structure. I wasn't for sure if it would continue moving to the upside because we do have the overall trade bias for sells still on the Aussie CAD, but I was looking at a minimum for price to come to half of this imbalance, to the midpoint of this imbalance, to this 91,850, but price showed no signs of any kind of pullback on my trading time frame. And so I ended up letting price just run right until this break of structure that was present as price was pushing down into our trading time frame demand zone and into our refined zone. And so I set the trade to just exit right here at this break of structure, not at the break of structure here. I wanted to do it a little bit before that. And so I almost did it right up here, which would have been absolutely bang on the money, but I chose to go a little bit more conservatively. And so I chose this break of structure here that previously existed. And so I exited the trade. It ran for, let's see, it ran for 1 hour and 20 minutes, and it was about 72 pips. So this was also a 4.81 risk to reward. And so that is awesome for any trade, and especially for an hour and 20 minutes on the Aussie CAD. Great trade, great breakdown, high probability. And as you see, we had our checklist, it all lined up, and the trade worked out beautifully. I hope you enjoyed this quick case study on my Aussie CAD trade for on Tuesday. I hope it gave you some useful insights and ideas for your own Forex trading. Remember, trading is a journey of continuous learning and improvement, and there's always more to learn and discover. So if you're interested in Forex trading, don't be afraid to take the first step. Start with a small account, practice with demo, learn from your mistakes, and don't forget to seek out resources and mentors who can help you reach your goals and help get you on your way. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Happy trading.